Hey, welcome back to the Cash PT Lunch Hour podcast. This is Aaron LeBauer, your host, and today my special guest is Clint Russell. Clint is a CrossFit gym owner at CrossFit Coronado, and he started a cash practice designed his gym, One Life Physical Therapy. And Clint, welcome to the show. I appreciate having you on today.
Thank you for having me, Aaron.
Yeah, awesome. So, Clint, tell me, there's a lot of things that we can unpack here, but let's start with, how'd you get into physical therapy? And you did that after, like you've taken a journey. Like this wasn't like you went to undergrad and you went straight to PT school, like a lot of people, right?
Yeah. So I was in the Navy, and then I got into my CrossFit gym. I worked here. I was a member here, worked here, and then bought the place August 1st, 2010. Was doing great. And then probably in December of 2012, I had some coaches and some members basically try to strong arm me into selling them my business. And I didn't, obviously. And then they opened a gym down the street, and we're an island. So, I lost a chunk of, my morning classes. It was a kind of a pretty big hit. Ultimately, it ended up being a hit of almost about $48,000 a year.
Wow.
in gross revenue. And they opened March 1st, 2013. Well, I was like, I'm never going to be in this position again. It showed me how vulnerable the business that I had was. So I used my GI Bill and I went to physical therapy school, and I started in January of 2014. And so let's see, probably a short while after that, they went out of business. We took over another gym, and then we sold that gym in April 2018. I finished school then also, and then passed my boards August 2018. Started doing my kind of cash PT. I saw your ads on Facebook, and I signed up for the one of the mastermind meetups. It was in San Diego, so I was like, well, it's in San Diego, why not go to this? So I go to that, and then we start with you August of 2019 or September 2019. I was kind of in a position where I was having a fourth child. I needed to grow my practice and my gym, and kind of ramp stuff up a little bit so we could, provide for, 6 people's a lot of mouths to feed. So, and here we are.
Right.
And then there's the coronavirus, and bam, and here we go.
Right. It's kind of like telling my story. People, like I went back to school when I was 36. How old were you when you went back to school?
I started when I was 30.
Yeah. So if you're like, Aaron, tell me, how'd you get here? I'm like, you want the 3-minute version or the hour-long version? Because there's a lot in there.
Right.
Right. So
yeah.
Here's what I want to know is, I want to go back. It's like, what experience did you have in the Navy that most prepared you for where you are now? Because not many people are going to have that experience, right? Because and what was it that you learned there that's given you the ability to get into business, buy other business, sell a business, start another business, and persist through all this stuff?
And so, this is a tough story for me to tell, but I think it's a good one for me to tell. It's good for people to keep hope, and it's also just good for me psychologically. I spent my whole life wanting to be a SEAL, and I got accepted. I was an officer. I finished BUDS, graduated in 2008, but then I failed some of the follow-on training that takes place after that. And, it didn't work out. And I got out of the Navy, and I tried to, before I was kind of in limbo for a little bit. And before I got out of the Navy, I trying to work some deal to let me finish. And, cause I had orders to a team. I mean, it really sucked, but I went from jumping out of the back of a C-130 in May in Georgia to making minimum wage $7.25 an hour, like a week later at Bally's Total Fitness. And that's a pretty big difference, like a pretty big culture shock to do that. And I think what kind of, I guess I figured if I could survive like all of that, it's going to be pretty hard to find something worse than that. Like, I feel like I could kind of make it through anything, and you're always still in the fight.
Yeah.
It's not over until you're dead.
Right.
I mean, you can come back from anything if you really want to. And I think a lot of people let their, there's like a quote, it says, be not too excited in victory and not too humiliated in defeat, and realize that both of those feelings are imposters. When, life's not about getting knocked down, it's about getting back up and continue to keep going and perseverance. And I think that's probably the skill set that I learned, because going to I don't know if anybody here listening is familiar with Coronado. Coronado is not exactly cheap. $7.25 an hour is not going to pay for an apartment in Coronado. So it was a pretty, we got a lot of life lessons smacked in the face real fast. But it worked out.
Right.
And I called my dad for help, and he goes, "You're smart and good looking, and you have a college degree. You'll figure it out."
Right.
It's like, all right, well, thanks.
I've read enough, it's like, I've read enough of, here's what I want to know really is like, I know you a little bit, and I know you barely told, you haven't really, you've touched on this story with me once, but I've read enough of those like Navy SEALs books to know like BUD/S is like, in order to survive that, you have to know how to keep going. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But then what is it that like, was there something different after that, or after you were not in the Navy, or after the SEALs? Like, was there a piece of that like, where did you get the like, hey, I'm going to get back up, and whether I'm going to do this or I'm going to do something else, like I'm going to go at, like, where did the drive come from, or where did the reignition of your drive and passion, like where did that come from?
Well, I think ultimately, that's a good question. Because I think as I was getting out, somebody once, I think one of the captains said, he's like, all right, what are you going to do now? And ultimately, that's what it all comes down to. He's like, okay, all this stuff happened. Are you going to let that define you?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you going to go on and kick ass at something else? And that's really, I mean, that's the only choice you have. What's past is over with. And so all that matters is, what are you going to do right now? And that's a skill that I learned there, because you'd have like an evolution, and then okay, we're done with that. And now you have to do the next, you have to think about the next one. Okay. And then when we're done with that, we got to think about the next one. And if that doesn't go well, you got to bounce back, and you got to attack the next one head on. And that's how life is. I think, you have to, one, take total accountability of things that you haven't done well, and then you have to learn from that and get better. And that's your only choice. Mm-hmm. No one accomplished anything by feeling sorry for themselves. That like feeling sorry for yourself is a totally useless emotion. It's a completely human emotion, and we all do it. But that's where we have to. I was telling my daughter actually last night. We were talking about. She was asking me questions about like hallucinating and like where the heck she got that, and we started talking about like when you don't sleep. And I just said, your mind will play tricks on you if you let it. It'll get the better of you if you let it. You got to not let it. And that's really what it all comes down to.
Wow. So you get out of the Navy and you're making $7 an hour. Okay. What next?
Yeah.
So you're working at Bally's, like teaching people to lift weights?
Yeah, I was like trying to, and they had a really, really shiesty payment set up, because you like, I was a personal trainer, and that was like your hourly rate. And then you got paid more for training a client. But if you weren't training 20 hours a week, and say you trained 15, you had like
Yeah.
15 personal training sessions, you still only got $7.25 an hour. Like they kept all that money until you were going over 20. And it was man, I was looking back, it's like, wow, you guys really cleaned house on us. And so they would just blow through employees left and right. And that place ultimately ended up closing down. You can't operate that way. And so I applied for another job. I ended up working for the Navy on one of the bases here. I actually taught like survival to some of the Navy and Marines, and that was a job that I had probably, that was August 2009 till March 2012, and I took over the gym August 2010, but in March 2012, that was when I could just do the gym, and we were having a baby, and I was gone like 10 days every month. We're kind of ready to just do the gym and have the kid, and that'd be our thing. One of the things we talked about there was something called like the will to survive. And that I think is what you gotta have. Like, that's just the will that you're just not going to give up. You're just going to keep at it.
Yeah. Let's say someone is like, I've never been in the Navy and I don't even like camping. How do they get in touch with their, like, that drive and that power and the will to keep going? Because we both know being an entrepreneur is hard, and it's like you're almost like you're going to war every day with your competitors or with yourself, and with, people even knowing that you're there, right? I think so.
I think the biggest battle is with yourself.
Yeah.
We are our own worst enemy, and we can be our greatest ally. But how do people get in touch with that? That's a question that I think if you could answer that, I think the military would hire you in a heartbeat, and you'd get a fat check for sure. I don't know how you get in touch with that. I maybe think like maybe when I was 12, I wanted to quit football, and I said, "Mom, I don't really like this. I want to quit. I don't want to do it anymore." And she's like, "Well, you need to finish out the season. If you quit at this just because it's hard, you're going to quit at all sorts of other stuff." And I never quit anything again.
Yeah. And
I didn't quit. I kept playing. I played till I was through high school, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, all right, that makes sense." And I guess that kind of resonated. But I think I don't know how you develop that in someone. I think you can kind of put people in situations, but I think that's a choice somebody has to make.
Yeah. What's the thing that you've struggled with the most in either of your businesses? Like, was it like buying into the gym, growing it, selling it? Like, what was the time where you really had to dig deep to figure out, like, how are we going to get through this?
Probably the toughest thing was whenever there were two clients and two coaches that wanted to buy us out, and they went off and did their own thing. That was pretty tough because there were people that were actually really good at their jobs, and they were legitimate, strong competition.
Yeah.
So that was definitely tough. And so I kind of, the strategy we adopted, I think they were trying to add like all these different programs, and with it, I think their thought was they could have all these different revenue streams, and they were going to do yoga and CrossFit and run it, all this other stuff. Whereas we kind of hunkered down. The guy who had sold me CrossFit Coronado was also an instructor of mine in the Navy, and we become friends. And I was kind of talking to him about it, and he mentioned something called the hedgehog principle. And like, a hedgehog curls up into a ball and has a spike stick out everywhere, and that's like the thing it does better than anybody else. And so I was like, we can't, especially it's just me and like two other coaches, we can't be everything to everybody. We're going to be the best damn CrossFit gym that there is. Let other people do yoga, let other people do that. That's not what we're experts in. We're experts at teaching how to do CrossFit safely, and that's what we're going to do. And that's pretty much what we've stuck by here ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, like, what caused these people to, either try to buy you? Was it, like, was there like something that happened and they tried to do it and you said, no, that's not, like, clearly you wanted to be in business, but was there something that
there were two
came about? Like, is there a story so we can get some context on, like,
yeah, I mean, kind of. So like, we went out of town, we came back, and one of the guys said he wanted to talk to me on a Wednesday and said that they were, and this guy had, he was very successful. He had sold like a garage door company, didn't need to work, was probably in his 40s, like just kind of, multimillionaire type guy. And he said that him and this organization that he was a part of like venture capitalists, was going to buy, they were going to actually build this amazing gym on the island, and we would not be, it was going to have all these bells and whistles, and we wouldn't be able to compete with it. So he said that he wanted to offer me $70,000 and they would run our gym until that one was ready to go. And he didn't tell me who they was. And I had 48 hours to give him an answer. Now, at the time, I was, let me think here, it's 2020. I think I was 28 at the time. Mm-hmm. Is it 8 years ago? I'm 36 now. Yeah, it's 8 years ago. And, I've been in business for about a year and a half. Year and a half, 2 years, something like that. And it was 2 years. And it's, we were like, whoa, what in the heck? So we didn't sell it to him. And then we find out he's got two of our coaches and another guy there. And, I think part of it was one of the coaches wanted to own her own gym, and that was some of it. And then the other coach was a guy who had retired from the Navy, high ranking officer, didn't really need to work, just still wanted to own his own gym. And, and then another dude there were three people that were retired and one person that wasn't.
Yeah. Did it come across more of a threat versus like a genuine offer?
It was totally a threat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like completely.
Yeah.
It was trying to scare people that were young and didn't really know a lot about business into kind of buckling. And
is there a number that they could have said and you would have said yes?
At the time, I don't think so. Because I was like, it'd be like, what the heck else what am I I like doing this. What else am I going to do?
Right.
Yeah.
So they make this offer. They give you 48 hours, which isn't a real time frame. You guys go into hedgehog mode, right?
Yeah.
What was the first action step?
Free mode.
You went to what?
Freaking out mode.
Yeah.
At first, we were like, man, this really awesome thing we have might not be so awesome.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? And we were like, we just didn't even respond to him. Mm-hmm. And then they sent us an email saying, we hoped you'd take our offer or something, blah, blah. But, they actually didn't have a plan. There was no gym they were building. It was all, they were just trying to scare us into doing that. And the reason they were able to open up another gym, it just so happened a few weeks, like less than a month later, there was another gym that went out of business, like a traditional gym, and they took over that building. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, there was no.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what happened next?
We just, I want to say we might have raised our prices a little bit. Mm-hmm. Not on everyone that was going here, but everybody coming in, on the basis that we weren't going to get as many people. We changed around how we did like fundamentals. Like we used to charge, there was like almost like a setup fee for the 3 fundamentals and then a month membership. They could sign up for a membership after that. Whereas we basically combined those two things.
Yeah.
So we charge kind of in the middle of what they were, so like more than the setup fee, but not quite as much as the first month membership, but it automatically set them up on a membership. So we weren't having to like try and sell them a membership. It cut out that sales step after that. And I know we got some people from that, and we basically just tried to. Our strategy wasn't so much to try to get new business; it was to just do a really, really good job and build strong relationships with the people that we already had. That's what had gotten us to that point. We felt like that would carry us forward.
Yeah, right on. And then, as you're moving forward with that, you decide to go back to PT school. Mm-hmm. Where'd that really come from?
Well, I wanted to, I didn't ever want to be in the situation we were in again.
Yeah.
I felt, I mean, that was kind of our only, all our eggs are in one basket. And it was like, if something, that showed me how vulnerable that the gym was.
Right. That someone could come in and set up and just threaten you, or just take some business away and really kind of cut into the bottom line.
Yeah. And there's so many things that can happen and have happened since then. Like on the Navy basis, they put free gyms all over the place now. And that's tough to compete with.
Yeah.
You've had a lot more CrossFit gyms open up over the years. I mean, and even now, like gyms are not allowed to exercise indoors. Well, we're a physical therapy clinic, so we're kind of able to get around that a little bit. And it's massively helped us in that regard. We needed to have something more. The gym, even though it was doing well at the time, there's no guarantee that would last forever. And so, and then also, I kind of thought that being a PT I assumed there would be a lot more gyms that would open. But what sets one apart from the other? Why would you pick this one over that one? If you don't know, it's like, well, this one's run by a DPT.
Right.
And that has gotten us business from the people that have picked us over other places. And it also justifies a little bit of a premium it justifies why we can charge a little bit more, which I've learned, unfortunately, a lot of lessons the hard way. For a gym, it's much better to have less people paying you more than the other way around, because you can only be on a first name basis with so many people. Right. And that's what these kind of places take. I mean, you literally have to be friends and like kind of in the middle of the community and kind of create like a family environment. And you can just only do that with so many people. It's hard to do that with 300 people, but with 80 people, that's totally doable.
Right. No, it totally is. I don't even know. I'm sure I can remember 80 people's names, but man, I got so many names floating around in my head. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to really have like a genuine relationship with, triple digit number of people.
Yeah. What, like, just for reference, what does the like average CrossFit gym have for numbers of members, or, even like, I think Invictus is the big one that's probably in San Diego, right? Like, what kind of volume are those kinds of gyms doing? Do you know?
Invictus is really smart business. They have developed a really awesome like online business. So they have like their gym, and I would imagine they probably have like I have no idea how many people they have. At one time they had like 300 plus. They might have way more than that now. It could be less, but they have a really, really legit robust online business that it's awesome for them.
Yeah. And that's probably why I know about them, is they've embraced like some of this online training, or maybe they've got I'm not a huge, done CrossFit plenty of times, but I don't know, like.
They sent a lot of people to CrossFit games.
Yeah.
And so they have a really robust kind of online remote training program for people that, want to go to the next level.
Yeah. For like, okay. So on the other end, what would be I guess, are there gyms that like crush it with like, I mean, you need more than 20 members, right? Unless you're charging them $1,000 a month, probably. Like,
you do need more than 20 members. So like what I've learned, and number one, if you were to ask me about Oklahoma or Louisiana or Kentucky, I don't feel like I would necessarily be an expert, because every area is different. I do feel like I'm somewhat of an expert, having made it for 10 years in San Diego, but like San Diego's not Arizona and it's not Wyoming.
Right.
So, but out here, with the cost of doing business, the magic number is 100. And so you need to charge whatever it is so that you can make whatever it is you decide you need to make with 100 people. If you can't do that, you're going to have a hard time. And why 100? So it kind of goes back to that having relationship things. Once you have more than 100 people, you're going to start to require some sort of middle management. And, that means you may have to salary someone. You're going to make more with 100 people than you will with 125 or 130. Like, it's because you're going to have another person, like a full-time person there to help you.
Right. So
Especially
you really
if you
need to
have a
go from like
family.
100 to 200, like 100 to 150 to really make up
Yeah.
and move forward.
Yeah. Especially if you're single and just want to live at your gym, but that's not realistic.
Right.
Like you can't work 60 plus hours a week for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And even if you can, like you're still going to need some help. You can't do it by yourself. No one person has all the skill sets that you need. And that's a hard pill for some of us to swallow.
Right. Right. What are some of the skill sets that you don't have that you've got other people doing for you?
So right now, my wife came up with a really awesome idea during the quarantine about, she made these like, you know how like a long time ago, or maybe they still do, like McDonald's had that like Monopoly thing where you like take a quarter and you like scratch it off and see what you win. Like she like handmade all these things, and we hand delivered it to all the members, and then they scratch off and see what prize they want. Some get like a T-shirt. Some of them got like a song made about them. Some of the appointment, it was like all silly stuff, and it was during quarantine, just because like everybody's depressed because they're stuck in their house all day, so just trying to make everybody smile. And so her, and then I have another coach, Joanna and Shannon, and they're able to come up with ideas like that I would never think of, and execute them, which is awesome. Like right now, Joanna's working on these thank you cards that we're going to go deliver to everybody. Some of that like personal touch and those like fine details, I think are so important.
Yeah, she does that well. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so when you went to PT school, so you go to PT school, did you go with the intention of adding physical therapy as a business service, or did you go thinking, hey, maybe I'll just have a job doing PT and we'll run the gym?
No, I had no intention of working for somebody else.
Yeah.
I had the intention of like, if this thing fell through and everything totally went south, that I could work for someone else if I absolutely had to. So it was like, okay, it was kind of like, on one hand, I'll always be able to earn an income, even if it's doing something I don't like. Like I'll never be totally jobless. But I wanted it to add value to what we were already doing.
Yeah.
I wanted it to add value to the members, and then another revenue stream for the gym, because we're kind of here, like the real estate prices are probably the biggest danger to CrossFit gym. Is not other CrossFit gyms, at least in San Diego, it's the rising cost of real estate. That's nasty out here.
Yeah. I know a lot of gyms like who have a lot of overhead or just rent, like suffered and struggled through even the last 3 months. Right.
Yeah. It can get real fast.
Yeah.
But that's where it goes to like having a smaller gym, because if you're a gym that needs 200 people, you're going to have a real hard time probably convincing 200 people to keep paying you when they can't come for 3 months.
Yeah.
But you can deliver enough value to like 60 or 70 people, and chances are you probably all know each other personally. Maybe your kids play together. Like you can make that work in a situation like this. It's not a forever solution, but the chances of a smaller gym surviving are much higher.
Yeah. Did you guys have most of your people stay on as members, or a chunk of people leave? I mean, how did that work out for you guys?
We did okay for the most part. Like we retained almost all of them. But there's still like, kind of the turnover with the Navy, because a lot of our members are in the Navy, of like people moving and stuff still occurred. So we lost some in that regard, but we retained a really high, most of our members during all of this.
All right. Right on. What, so in order to, I think in order to kind of combat some of that turnover, that's where you guys came up with some of those like gifts and things for the members, right? Was that part of that?
Yeah, we wanted gifts, and we also want to give people a reason to be happy.
Yeah.
There's lots of reasons not to be happy.
Right.
Let's find some reasons to everybody. You don't have to look very hard for that.
Right.
But let's find some reasons to be positive and control the things that we can control, which ultimately really is just our attitude.
Yeah. So adding physical therapy to your gym, and you're doing it not just as a physical therapist renting space, but you're doing it as like the owner, and you can kind of coordinate gym activities with physical therapy. So probably like you make the decision and it happens, rather than a lot of people who rent a space make a decision. They have to pitch the idea to the gym owner, say, hey, does this work? Right. So
Right.
what are some of the ways that you've integrated your physical therapy practice with your gym, and how are they, not only just how are they benefiting each other, but what are some of the things that you've done to kind of integrate them so that you get a benefit to your members, and it's not just filling up your gym, but your clinic and vice versa?
So a couple things we've done. Whenever one of the meetings you suggested just give everybody like a 30-minute eval. So we've done that, and that's added a lot of value to people. It's gotten people to get a couple sessions, but it is absolutely retained members.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's hard to really know like how much it saved us, but it's, I mean, we've 100% like retained people from that. Which to me, that's what this is all about. It's not, if you can lessen the losses, you're going to do really well in the gym. Retention is the key. So it's 100% done that. And then we're kind of known for doing really, really thorough warm-ups and movement reviews and things like that. So I think just the actual product that we deliver,
mm-hmm.
it's been very helpful. And then I spent a lot of time trying to get in network with Tricare, which so I do cash and I do Tricare, which that's the military healthcare for people listening. And so I have this population of people that come to my gym that are all in the military, and so now they're able to see me in most cases for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and yeah, I do have to go through an insurance company, which they're really nice, the people there. But it's still more work. I mean, there's no way to shake that, and it can suck sometimes, but it's worth it because the people need it, especially some of those guys. And I think it gives them a lot more value for their membership. And I feel like I can help them a lot more because I already know, you know, they're all people I'm friends with, all people I know. I already know kind of what's matter.
Right.
And everybody kind of wins.
Yeah. Do they have, on the base there in Coronado, do they have physical therapists on staff there?
Yes. Yeah. So, the way it works is active duty usually gets sent to base,
mm-hmm.
but the spouses not so much. And then there's different types of Tricare. There's like Select and Prime. Select is basically a PPO, and they just go wherever they want.
Yeah.
And some of the spouses will have that. Service members will have Prime, which is like an HMO. But if they just go to their doc and are like, hey, send me to Brian Russell One Life Physical Therapy, usually that gets approved because, I mean, Tricare doesn't care which clinic they go. I mean, it's the same out for them either way. So generally, if the doc writes that, if they request and the doc writes that on there, it gets approved.
Yeah. Was that what was the process like getting approved with Tricare? Was it fairly easy, straightforward?
Well,
is there a secret that someone else shouldn't know about if they want to do it, live in a military town?
I've done this. It's totally worth it if you're in a military town. They pay way more than most of the insurance companies. But getting in is brutal. I'll be honest with you there. Once you're in, I kind of had to do it twice. I got in as a non-network person. I did that for a little bit. And if you're non-network, you can only see the Tricare Select people. But then I realized that was cutting out a lot of potential people. So when you're in network, you take a 12% hit. But it still pays like twice as much as Blue Cross with that. It's painful to get set up.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have to call them, and you're going to get the runaround from anyone who's ever dealt with the government knows what I'm talking about. However, I will tell you that their customer service people, everybody there is like really nice, and they will actually call you back sometimes. They'll email you back. I can't say anything negative about the actual people that I've talked to. They're all very helpful. It's just when you're dealing with the government, stuff just takes a long time.
Yeah.
Just know. for no reason. I don't really know why, but it just does.
Yeah. So now that it's set up, the military members who have Tricare come in and, is it fairly easy to collect and file the claims and do all that
So
stuff?
that's my next thing. I've been approved for like 6 weeks, and they still don't have my billing set up yet. That's what I'm saying. The setup is brutal. So I have somebody working on it for me. They owe me 20 sessions.
Yeah.
So far. I'll get it. But the first set of bills is miserable. But once you get going, it's easy. You can just go online and it's processed almost immediately.
Yeah.
The same thing happened when I got in non-network. Like, it sucked getting going. But once you have it set, you can see they process your claim instantly when you submit it online in their system.
Right on. So, so this is benefits.
So if you can deal with it,
yeah.
So if you can deal with however long months it's going to take you going back and forth,
yeah,
once you're set, it's totally worth it.
Yeah. And so that means pretty much anyone who's in the military living on the base who has, active duty members have Tricare as their medical plan. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's actually active duty, reserve, and retired. Okay. So we get the whole, and their families.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's a pretty wide, like where I'm at. I mean, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. So that's different.
And a lot of places don't.
Sorry, there's a little delay there, but that's different than like USAA. Like my dad was in what did he do in Vietnam? He was in like the civil service or medical. He was a physician. He was a 25-year-old physician, and he did all the medical checks and worked it, and so I had USAA, which is you only really have if you can be in the army, if you've had a relative in the army or armed forces, but that's different. That was like so one's healthcare, but so one's healthcare, one
USAA is bank.
Yeah, bank, auto, car, etc. Right? Like it's in your house. Is that the way that like Tricare works too? Is it very similar, or is it only limited
so
to
you have
primary?
To have someone like if your family has to be, or someone has to be in the military, and then I don't think your kids get it after they're 25. I'm not sure about that. I think they're on their own after that. I don't think they can get any more. I could be wrong about that. But then when you retire, you get to keep it for yourself and your spouse. And there's a lot of people here that have that.
Right. So bottom line is it lowers the barrier for a large chunk of people to get in and utilize a combination of your services.
I mean, it's probably 85% of my gym membership.
Yeah.
At least.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. What's the, tell me a little bit about when someone becomes a member. You were saying like the product you sell and the fact that, your members can get these, like a free 30-minute eval. Like is that how you're distinguishing yourself from other CrossFit gyms, or is it, or is there something else that you've done over the years that really, the way you explain it or the way people experience it, like what is it that you guys are kind of boxing up and packaging and like helping people with?
I think the big thing that separates us, we've been around forever, and because so many people cycle through here with the military, we have like word of mouth referrals. Like, so one lady was a member a couple of years ago, goes to Germany, comes back. Some other people from Germany come here when they get here. So we almost have like this worldwide like network of, people in the Navy that have just gone all over the place. And then they're like, so like the SEALs are here, and then there are a lot of helicopter squadrons here, and there's some ships here. So all those people have like similar duty stations within their community. So they go from here to like Norfolk. Well, they tell whoever at the gym at Norfolk, hey, when you get to San Diego, because then more people come back this way, right. Hey, check that place out. And then somebody goes to Hawaii, and then they tell whoever's coming back here, you know what I mean? So it's like this, like we've kind of, I would say, put the work in over the years to kind of get people without really having to do much of anything, and kind of created a very family environment here. You're kind of,
that's awesome.
part of our family.
Do you have things around your gym that are like, say, hey, like it's like, hey, Clint was in the Navy too. Like they all know that, or is it is there something specific that because I mean, I don't know, like do people who come there know that hey, this is also owned by a guy that was in the Navy, and that's why we're here because of things you have around or the way that you guys
it says that on
it?
our website.
Yeah.
And then we have all sorts of like Navy decorations everywhere. Different pins and flags and stuff like that. But and then just the actual members themselves, because they all kind of stick together. The families and stuff stick together. Because imagine if you were moving all the time and you're always like the new person.
Yeah.
So your gym's full of people like that. So I think they're very quick to make friends with each other. But yeah, I think really the word of mouth from the members is what does it.
That's awesome. Before we run out of time, I got like a million questions, but I think this one will be really helpful for people. If someone is out there is interested in opening up a physical therapy business inside a CrossFit gym or alongside a gym owner, or they also want to own both, what would be your number one piece of advice?
Do you really want to do the work necessary to do that? Because like you haven't seen me or heard from me on like the meetings, because I basically live here. Like this, I mean, everybody wants to do this when it's good, when like times are good, when you're got lots of members, but like, do you still want to do this during quarantine when you're having to run online? I mean, do you get what I'm saying? Like, make sure that you really understand. I don't think you can really understand how much work it is till you're in it, but just know that yes, it is really awesome, but it's 10 times as much work as you think it is. And that would be you got to be really ready to put some work in.
Yeah. What's more uncomfortable, rolling around in the ocean with 40 degrees with sand in your pants, or being an entrepreneur?
To be honest with you, like the first one, there's a bit of simplicity in that. Yeah. Someone says do that and you do that. There's not really any thought process. You don't have to think in the same way. You're uncomfortable, but you just have to be uncomfortable. Whereas here, it's like the polar opposite. You're uncomfortable because you're uncertain. You're in total uncertainty, and no one's going to come tell you what it is you need to do next. Like there's no instructor or drill sergeant or someone like that's going to punish you for doing something wrong, because generally you learn in a situation that you're being punished because you did something wrong, and it's reinforcement to get you to do the right thing.
Right. That
isn't how this works. Like you just lose money, or like worse. So I would say being an entrepreneur is considerably harder, because not only are you uncomfortable, it's all, I mean, the buck stops with you. There's somebody had a sign somewhere. It was like, no one is coming. It is up to us. And that's kind of how this is.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
But I think we're needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're especially right now. I mean, physical therapists, gym owners. I mean, right now there are a lot of people that are just stuck in their homes and they need us, whether it's providing some sort of online thing for them to do, whether it's, we'd have like kind of weekly Zoom, like wine hangouts or whatever, just like a lot of people exercise, to like lose weight and stuff. But I think more so for just mental health, you're just happier when you move around, and the world needs us right now. Like we kind of owe it to everybody to survive.
Right. Absolutely. Clint, is there anything else you think would be helpful for people listening? I mean, that was some really good stuff, but is there anything else you think? Did I miss anything?
You got to know what your why is.
Yeah.
And that's not, like, I got a text this morning. There's this lady I saw yesterday. She's pregnant. I've been seeing her for lower back pain, and she had gone to her doctor. They thought she had like singles, but she's having like some nerve symptoms coming down her arm. Saw her yesterday, did some stuff on her neck, texted me today saying, I'm not having that anymore. Like, this is awesome. See you Friday. And like that's why we do what we do, to give someone life, to let somebody be able to pick their kids up, to go run, to whatever it is, that's our role, to keep them doing their thing.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I totally get it. And thank you very much for sharing those insights with us. If someone wants to learn more about your business or get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So the website's www.onelifephysicaltherapy.com or www.crossfitcoronado.com, and they can shoot me an email. It's Clint, CLINT, @onelifephysicaltherapy.com. And then I'm also on Instagram, Clint Russell DPT.
Awesome, man. Well, Clint, thank you very much. Dude, that was awesome. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah. And for you guys listening, this is Aaron LeBauer and Clint Russell of the Cash PT Lunch Hour. And all I got to say is you got to figure out why it's worth going through all this stuff, because business isn't easy, but it's absolutely worth it. So thank you guys for being here. See you on the next show.